This is my December 2023 to January 2024 album. I once again used a Simple Stories album with the beautiful corners, the nice holly print, and it is a repeating kind of ditzy pattern across the entire book. And then I have my dates on the binding as per usual. The inside of the album is a very light crosshatch pattern. Not sure if you can see it well in the video, but it is a very nice book. The title page, I went with this great piece of printed pattern paper and then just cut it down to the size I wanted. This book is a little thick, and so it humps a little bit, but nothing that's going to distress or ruin the front page. This patch is from Ellie Edwards, and it is a fabric patch, and it is adhesive on the back. I believe I got it in an advent calendar that she releases for the 1st to the 24th. I've gotten it the last few years. Absolutely love the products. And 2023 was an item in that advent calendar as well. Stitched it onto here because I didn't want it to come off, and then adhered everything, and that is my cover. Now, that piece of paper, I had adhered to this patterned paper. So I didn't want the dots, I wanted the red, and so I just adhered it there because I wanted this to be the flap for November. So again, some of my other albums, I have kind of divider pages. Sometimes I just use the month word to be my divider. And in this case, that's what I did. This little flat piece ended up being my divider. Pieces of paper stitched on one, layered some puffy November-ish, fallish stickers, stamped and cut out the word. And then here is November. So I did a grid with 3 Ellie Studio cards. They held my journaling. This one was enjoying all of these different things. There wasn't anything that I wanted to take off there, so I just left it there. You could put a sticker beside or check mark the ones that you were loving. I used 3 journaling pieces or embellishments here to hold some more puffy stickers. And then I added some photos of some of the things that we were doing with some word labels. Added a picture here. We watched Survivor War Games that weekend. And so, filled in because I didn't have any other journaling I wanted there. Put a photo instead. So that was November. I liked the green here, the green plaid, the green dots, because it matched this divider page. This came with the album, and I actually think this album is in the Air bundle for 2025. So if you're liking the inserts and you're liking the album, that's part of the bundle at Simple Pleasures because they're part of that Air program. Here, Ellie Edwards had a little banner that said 2023, so I stitched that onto this page that came with the album. Added a few other embellishments. I had this great December that I had been hoarding. Use up your stuff, people. Enjoy it. And so I used it here. Added stickles onto the wreaths and the tree, and then onto this embellishment. And this is actually from Simple Stories as well. They had done numbers as part of a product line, and so my numbers for December are all these chipboard numbers, and they're nice and thin, so I didn't have to peel them. I just use them as is. Ellie Studio always does a great December, so this I think was the first time they did the calendar. They've done it every year since. It's already printed. It already has the numbers on it. All I did here was use these little tab stickers from Ellie Edwards. Again, I think that I got that in the advent calendar. I had a stamp of trees, added the little sticker that says December Stories. And then I also have a stamp that has Santa and the reindeer, so put that here because there's a whole bunch of blocks here that were empty. So I wanted to kind of fill that in a little bit. At the bottom, it already said it's the most wonderful time of the year. Loved doing this. Loved it so much. I picked a sticker for each day. I filled in kind of what we did that day. Some of them I knew ahead of time, some of them I didn't, but I kind of filled it out as I went. And some of them are pretty, straightforward. There's our anniversary. There was the office party. Um, for Christmas Eve, there wasn't anything, so I put he's on his way because there's Santa. There's the day we adopted Donnie, so I have Donnie found a forever home. I had a doctor's appointment, so just kind of filling in overall, and instead of punching holes in that, I put it on the back of this so that we see a little bit of the green. I actually trimmed it down, I think, a little bit, just so that it gave a little bit more of an edge there. I've talked lots about using bits and bobs that you have, so little stickers, stamped pieces. I love these metal tags for stamping and using them. They give kind of a nice shimmer. This is a die that cuts out and has the 6 spaces. Love it, love it, love it. And so I just went through my cart and found just little things that would fit in there and stuck them down, pop dotted some things up. Had fun with it because the colors there kind of match this card. Use the card, printed out my journaling, and then put the number. Day 1 is complete. And this was a little hello to December. So kind of my reason why, kind of things, hopes and goals and dreams for the month. And so that was that. Some of the numbers were extremely big, and so they did stick off. I did not feel bad trimming them down. Adding in some bits from Vicky Bouton. These are actual Christmas tags. I just trimmed off the loop. The second is always Grinch Day. We decorated that day. Used some paper in there, and then also paper on the back. The second kind of float over into the next page. Usually I try and keep them to one spread, but I wanted to do more, and I had, some other things I wanted to share. You'll see this stamp set, and I think this was a paper person. So D is for December, and it's kind of an alphabet. G is for Grinch. S is for snow. And so I challenged myself to use up bits of my stash, but also to incorporate that stamp set every single day in the album. I love little challenges like that. I thought it was extremely fun. I also saw the stamp set and kind of blocked out certain days that might be good for that. So I knew Grinch would always be the second. That was my mom's birthday. She loved Grinch. So that was easy. Some of these other ones I had to kind of go with the flow. So on the 3rd, we had snow. And so I made this cluster, stamped it there, and a lot of times I fill it in with shimmer brushes, the Wink of Stella brushes, or I have some other ones that are colors. This one's a gold one. I have red ones, pink ones. There's all different colors, so it's kind of nice to give a little bit of shimmer with your Wink of Stella shimmer pens. You probably saw this in one of the other videos where I did kind of a pile of pajama pants. Here I did all of my Christmas pajamas that I really love. Because I wanted to use the C for cozy and use this tag, and I did some stamping on it, but also the tag that came in the album had 4 spots, so I wanted to do 4 on the 4th, and so stuck the 4 down, put some ribbon there, stamped out the numbers, and then put 1, 2, 3, 4 in foam numbers on top of the various pajamas, and then documented them here. On the back of the tag was journaling, which was fantastic. Some of the words were very generic, like T for today. And so I went with, today, what was today? And this was work. I always put something about our work. And I have this little stamp from Studio Calico that says work stuff, and there's another one that says home stuff. So I tried to use both work stuff and home stuff in the album this year. So that was kind of fun. I had the banner that worked with the curve of the 5, put the bows with the work stuff, and then a nice little tag. Trying to use up some of my cards, and especially holding the big numbers, it worked out really, really well. So here, this held the 6, put a little puffy from Echo Park. Again, some more great Vicky Bouton stuff. Using up some die cuts that I have. This was when we put the TV in my craft room. E for enjoying. And then F for friends. So I have a standing date night with one of my friends in Canada. She loves Christmas Vacation, and I got her some Christmas Vacation shirts and sent them to her. And so this was from packaging from these Funkos that we got. Again, you'll see the 7 was cut off. And then I did a little flip here. You know, Santa's on his way. I helped her pick out some things for her grandchildren. And I also, is one of her Christmas gifts was this ring that she really wanted. You know, gave her money towards the ring. So able to use some of the cards that I had in my stash, adding little photos, and then the journaling is about that as well. So she's a very happy Nana, and so she loves Christmas. She's my Christmas buddy in that. The 8th was my holiday party, and so nice big photos, rounded the corners because they were matching the cards on the other side. I love taking different angles. So here I had my camera lower, kind of at tummy level, so that I could get the whole table and kind of people in the background. Here I lifted my arms above them so I could get a good shot of the casino table. Kind of a nice variance of perspective there. A small little insert here. I used the tickets because we had tickets at the party, so I thought that was a great use of them. Had my big 8, M is for Mary, and then you know, some of the props. This was at the rodeo museum thing here, so it was a really cool venue. But they had some of these pops, and one of them was you know, where's the whiskey? And so we had to take a picture of Tom because he had a whiskey. And so cheers, worked out great there. I have this from Ellie Edwards for years, and it was naked chipboard, which you can't really see because I've colored it. So what I did is I put multiple coats of red paint, and then I used a stencil and laid a stencil down, and I used texture paste, which didn't work the first time. And so then I had to scrape everything off, do it red again. And the trick with this was the stencil was about this big. So I laid the stencil down. It was an Ellie Edwards stencil. Did the texture paste, let it sit. Came back, put it down, did the texture paste, let it sit. And then, you know, you had to clean off any like in the windows. And then I added some stickle dots to make it shimmer. And then beforehand, though, I had planned out some of these stamps because this one says holiday party and there were tickets. This one says spectacular. And then I wanted the little banner so I could tie in the holly and the banners I was using here. It's all one spread. And then also all the little sizes of the pictures. Okay. So again, tons of pictures happening here, but it's in a collage. Could you do something like this with a piece of cardstock? Sure. Punch out holes, use a die cut machine. I think this is 6 inches. You could put a piece of paper through your Big Shot and cut out different shapes and put pictures in behind, but I wanted to use it. The last few years, you're going to see some fun things because I'm trying to use up my stash. I'm not hoarding things anymore. Just use it. There's always going to be new stuff that comes out. There's always going to be fantastic things coming out. Use it. And so I'm using it. I have lots of stamp sets, and I try and use them as well, but I've cut myself off from Christmas stamp sets because I have so many, and trying to get rid of some of those too. On the back of that, covered it with paper, simply because everything was kind of layered in behind. Before I stuck anything down, I used this sheet. This was from Ellie Edwards from years ago. It was all the way down to 9. I covered the 9 that was here with the 9 that I wanted to use from the Simple Stories pack so that all of my numbers have that consistency. Put a piece of washi. Put the letters that say television. Are these foam or these chipboard? and then stitch them so that they will not fall off. And then there's Santa in his little cozy chair. And then continued with that paper for my journaling here. This was a 3x8 piece from Ellie's Studio for a 3x8 book. I just used it for my journaling though, because I loved the grid. And I added a puffy from the same set, and then W for watching. So again, that set kind of prompted some of the stuff that's in this album. And then from there, again, it's shorter because when you pop it open, then here are all of these TVs. This is a stamp set. I cut off the antenna so that I could put the little holly and the candles that were part of that puffy set. So continuing on the colors, but also using that puffy set. So things that we were watching together, things I was watching on my own, found the images online and then printed those out, tucked them behind, and then stuck everything down. So a nice little grid of things. Because this was a full page, needed one here, did some layers, covered up some of the pieces. Again, layering, using up some of my stuff. W for winter. Here, D is Deck the Halls. And so Tom was setting up all of his, these are actually vinyl albums, and they're on hinges and they open up and then the record is inside. So they're behind glass, but then they are protected from, you know, dust and dirt and stuff. So going down into his man cave, that whole wall, he was setting it up. And so I took pictures of that. And then the opposite side of the wall, there's this big flag for Prof, which is one of his favorite artists. And so here what I did is I used a little tab, stamped fa la la on it, you know, adhered it between the two photos there, punched a hole, and then put the tag. So plaid here holds the number, but you flip it over and it is all of the journaling. And, you know, you could flip it this way, but to me, I would naturally flip it this way. And so that's why I put the words that way. So kind of fun, kind of interactive, but still gave lots of room for the photos. And speaking of Prof, when we were at one of the shows, him and his DJ were gracious enough to take a photo with us. And so I put ho 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 because, you know, it's a Christmas thing. Sometimes I put the journaling inside the card. I did not this time, simply because the journaling matched this. So this was a card in the paper set, I think. And so what I did was I did some stamping that said, you know, wrapping, making, sending, writing, printing, saving. And I colored in the dots for, you know, making, sending, writing, and printing, because that's what I did with the cards. And then I stamped and put this little image of the envelope and the letter and put a heart on it to kind of match the red there. Here's a picture of me actually sending things. So pulled up to the mailbox here, and frosty as all heck, but held my phone, took a picture of my left hand, putting in the letters with my right hand, made sure I left room so I could do some stamping on the top, and then I have, you know, good tidings as a little tabby. And then on the back side, so, you know, this is all one spread for the 12th. On the back side, I had this die cut that was December. I had put all of the pictures, or not the pictures, the cards down and took a picture of all the cards, just a pile of cards. And so used this little gnome. Not a huge fan of gnomes, but this little Santa one was pretty cute. This die cut December, stuck that on there. And the 12th here is reading. So I could have done reading a book, reading whatever, but reading cards from people. The album came with this great envelope, and they usually do. And what I did is I wanted the holiday stuff. There's, I think, a print behind here that I didn't want. So I covered it up with some stamped stuff and my big number 12. And then this holds all of the cards that I received that year. Some of them are photo cards. Some of them are purchase cards. Some of them, his Aunt Linda always does beautiful watercolors, and then takes a picture and then prints it out, as opposed to watercoloring tons and tons and tons of cards. She puts a picture on that and then puts it on cardstock and sends it. So love including that. I always pick one that's nice and glittery, because then or what matches the best with my picture that day. But I thought that candy cane peeking out was just adorable with the leaves and stuff. On the back of that, sometimes I put a huge photo. This year, I did not, because I was going to use the D for drinking. So that paired well with some stickers I had. We are not coffee drinkers, but Vicki Booten had some little mugs in her previous collections. I cut circles to hold some of the drinks and also to hold some of the ephemera and the die cuts, and then my big number 13, which I had to punch a hole in. Not a big deal. It holds up really well. And so this was a cup that I got in Canada when I was visiting my brother the November prior. Found this one and picked it up, and then there's my hot chocolate. So, the journaling fits in the middle really well. 14th, I did something different this year. I used an actual little bag. And I got these little bags at the dollar store, and I'm like, man, those are really cute. They would fit really well in a December daily. Yes, they would. So what I did is on the spine that has the give for the bag, I adhered them closed, and when I put the little tabby in, and it has taken some damage, but not a big deal. Did some layering. B is for buying. Okay. And then that's the 14th. And then on the other side, is the 15th that goes with this page. So B for buying. It's a little bag, right? And so I filled the bag with tags of things that I bought in that season. Okay. Kept them nice and flat with just photos. So if you flip this one over, it talks about what I bought there. So I bought some scrapbooking stuff. Okay. Tom bought some prof stuff. Story is there. Ellie's Studio, my December order there, they had some Christmas stuff on sale. I got it. And a lot of this was kind of after the fact, or some of this was Black Friday stuff that came and was delivered in December. So, Ellie Edwards had a huge sale. And so, I got some pleather circles and some stamps and stuff that I really loved. Love that stamp set. And then I also got myself a couple of rings on, Amazon. I don't like to wear and I'm not wearing it now, my diamond ring all the time because I'm worried that I'm going to scratch it or it's going to pop out. When I'm at home, I don't wear my rings. When I go out, I wear them. However, if I'm doing something that I'm worried that it's going to get wrecked, I wanted just a plain band to wear. And so I picked one up. And then those were my purchases. So it didn't need to be a huge, big story. It didn't need to occupy a bunch of space. It actually ended up being a little bit thicker than I anticipated. But it turned out really well. And I really liked the fact that I had the long tags. Super cute, super fun. This holds on the bottom, and then the handle holds on the top. And you could put both handles there as well. I just put the one initially because then you could pull the tags out. Because that one is a little bit tight. So that's the 14th. The 15th, shopping. So I love doing lists. And so I had this great little prompt from Vicki Booten. And so 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. I use these little stars and these little chipboard numbers and did that. Again, I like taking pictures of things in carts or in the bins when we get home or at the store. I needed some red albums, and so I was holding the album and taking a picture. Just what we were getting and where we were, and that's it. The pictures are kind of self-explanatory. So for days where you're maybe a little tired or you don't have a lot to say, pictures can do a lot. A list can give you everything that you need. Here's our anniversary. So cut this out and added it. Here's what we made. Here's a little letter that we got from my friend. Here's our letter. This was an actual watercolored card from Aunt Linda. Loved it. I actually did punch holes in that because I wanted it in the album. And I stamped and cut out the number 10 and added it to her balloons. And then on the back, you know, the sticker that was on the envelope, I put it here and added it there. Big picture of us. I had this Mickey and Minnie paper, so it worked well over here. And just a fun picture of us. I was in my Bucky's onesie pajamas, and he's like, you have to have it in the picture, because they were absolutely ridiculous. So L for love. So that was fun. Again, random bits from my stash. Added some things in there. 17, tree day. So big, I always do a big photo of the tree. I love Christmas trees, and I love Christmas trees with the lights. Cut this out of a card. Don't be afraid to cut your journaling cards. Do what you need to do. They're yours, right? This strip was actually quite small, and it only went to about here. So right behind the 17, I cut it so that I could have another little piece over here, and it looks like it extends the full way. That's great if you're using big numbers. You can kind of cut things and extend that border. And then Holiday Twinkle, and that was it. So another day where there's not a lot of journaling, because what I did was take photos of the ornaments that I like on our Disney tree, and that was my day. That was my day 17. So time consuming in taking pictures, but I literally walked around the tree and was like, oh, Hyacinth. I love Hyacinth Hippo. So I had to take a picture of her. And there's Mrs. Potts. Had to take a picture of her. Oh, and there's, you know, Sorcerer Mickey. And there's a couple of him because I love Sorcerer Mickey. And so took a picture of the ones that were meaningful, ones that I got in Disneyland Paris, ones that we got when we were there right before we got married. You know, I always have a Santa on every tree, so that is my Disney Santa on the tree. So easy to do. You could do this with tree ornaments. You could do this with a Christmas village if you have one. You could do this with kids' toys. You could do it with baking. Like, there's tons of different ways that you can do a collage in a 2x2. It makes it easy. You don't have to worry about doing anything fancy in Photoshop. They're just 2x2 pictures. Okay. And then my little word was decorate. And so with my Disney tree, you can see that there are these cabinets. I have one here and then one over where you can't see. And on the top, I have some, ooh, I need to staple that. We have some, from Costco, some little Disney villages. So one is a tree and one is a house, and they have music and you know, this spins around and there's things here that move around. So took a picture of that because it went with the tree. And the D for decorate filled in this dead spot. The little stapler I just used is a mini attacher from Tim Holtz. If you don't have one of these, you will want one if you're going to do any mini albums. If you do a lot of cards even, the staples are smaller. They're not as deep. Absolutely fantastic. Easy to fill. I use this all the time in my crafting. Okay. So the next page, I had 2 cards that were the same. I love that when they made them, they line up perfectly. This was our adoption day for Donnie. And so what I did was I cut out with an X-Acto knife the circle that was there. I use this one for journaling, but I cut this one out because I wanted a picture of him when we first saw him. And I had this great Heidi Swap plastic cutie to put over top of it in making plans. And it's C for celebrate. So the C fit in the 18th, which I again just layered on top of a card that was already there. These little photo pieces, the frames are actually a die from Ellie Studio that has, you know, I think it's 1 1/4 by 1 4 3/4 and sized my photos to fit behind. So this was, at the Humane Society, bringing him out, ringing the bell. This was in the vehicle and when we first had him at home, and here he is taking over every surface of our house. So wanted to have a lot of pictures, but you don't necessarily want, a whole photo album within one little spread. So this is a great way of doing it. 2x2s. I could have done it that way too. I wanted to use this die. I wanted to use this paper with the little peppermints to go with the peppermint and the peppermint. So that was a fun way of doing that. Again, cards that have big spots for journaling also are great for wanting to hold numbers. This is a piece of washi tape. And then what I did is I held paper here, stamped stuff, paper, stamp. You could put, masking tape there as well, but wanted to stamp that. So it had a bit of red there. And then 2 pictures of nutcrackers. The prompts, this day totally came from this. Bits and pieces collected this season. Figure 1, figure 2. And then I stamped, 2 little things in red. Used a couple of stickers, J for joyful. And that was my spread for the day. So another easy one. Same thing with this one. Card, put a strip of paper, put my number. Put a little sticker. This was, ceramics that Mom had made in the 80s. And I am lucky enough to now possess them. And so, all of the details, added a label here. It stuck out. I trimmed off the rest and put it over here. And S is for Santa. So again, the stamp set kind of prompted that, but I would have, documented this regardless. But the stamp set kind of worked. Again, were these on the days? No, but there were stories I wanted to tell. 21st, actually, we did. The date is on this. We went to a recording at Looney's Comedy. Great place to go. Absolutely fantastic for date nights. Lots of fun. So a picture of us. I wanted to cover up the people in behind or in between us. L is for listening. And the number, just a little bit of journaling. That's it. 22nd, G is for gifts. This is also an insert where it says that's a wrap. I had stamped the G on the little package that was printed on this already. And then I made a little flap here, mixed media, playing with texture paste, and a stencil there. That's a Tim Holtz one. This flips up and there's a little Vicky Booten Cardinal. He just is so cute. Saying that, wrapping gifts, and we decided that we weren't going to do a bunch of gifts because we had trips coming and so on and so forth. And so I did get a few things for stockings in the Black Friday. And so I have so much paper and I'm trying to use it up. So I wrapped everything that went in our stocking. So not a lot of gift wrap. Usually I have what I used for the year. I think I used up the last of these little elf bits that I had, and that was it. 23rd. So, and I guess, that's a wrap. This story isn't really related to wrapping. It's not really related to baking. But it was a little story that I wanted to share. So there's my friend Tanya, and there is her first granddaughter. So her son had a baby, and so that's her first grandbaby, but she also has the pleasure of his wife having 2 other girls. And so now she has her granddaughter and 2 bonus granddaughters. So little Gracie was, I think, 2 days old when I first met her. I happened to be on a trip to Canada. She was late, and so I got to hold her when she was 2 days old. So super special. I include Gracie in a lot of stuff. She sends me a lot of pictures, and I wanted to hear, this is a stamp, that's a stamp, that's a stamp. I didn't have something that I wanted to put there. And so sometimes you can have little pictures in there. Tanya's also, she's another Tanya. She's also super into baking. So I thought that worked well. We talk a lot about what our Christmas baking is going to be. This is another page. It's pre-printed with these branches and this spot here. Again, I stamped in it. It probably was meant for journaling. I stamped in it because I wanted to put the 23 there, put the B for baking, and then I made a flip. Okay, these are super easy to do. I just take some cardstock, score it down the middle, stick it to the back of one, stick it to the in between the two here, and then that's my flip. So this had a nice little gingerbread house. I wanted to keep that. And then again, this was pre-printed. I stamped this tab so that you know to lift it. Wanted to replicate the red there. Consistency is really nice. You know, red, red, red. Keeping that consistent. And then what I did was, you know, in the back I had the stamp set that said the Merry Details. So just a nice little prompt for what I'm doing here. And then I, in Photoshop, put 5 different things. Okay. So some of these are my baking and some of these are things that we picked up. Right. And then I didn't bake a lot that year, but some. And so what I did is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I stamped 1, banana and chocolate chip muffins. 2, M&S treats that were imported from England. 3, chilled Oreo cookie dessert. I bought this package to try it out. Tom loves Oreos. We weren't fans. Probably never going to buy it again. There's my sugar cookie bars. So here they are with pink. You know, I took some to work. I did some with pink and some with green, which I say in the journaling, and then we got our Panettones. So I had talked about some of these before, but here they are in a specific themed page about that. So sometimes flips are nice. That photo would not have gone well, and so putting it, hiding it, using up more of your stuff to hide that, that really made me happy. That was one of my favorite pages. On the back of this pre-printed page, there was something else. I didn't like it. I covered it with a photo. Okay, so now we're into the 24th. The 24th for me is lights. We always go and look around. So I did a collage of those. Okay, I left 2 spots open because I knew I had the twinkle lights and I had something that said the 24th, making sure that everything fits in, because twinkle lights and the nativity don't totally jive. I guess it's house shapes, but I wanted the 24 there. To use it up, but also to make sure that there's consistency. T for tradition, that was the tying factor. Okay, tradition to go see the twinkle lights and tradition to set up a nativity. So, and this one was a special tradition. So this I brought back from Canada as well. My dad made this from fire logs, so it's nice and rough and it's beat up because it's from the 70s. I think he made it for Mom like the first Christmas they were together, and they were married in 77. And so I wanted the picture here. This was a pre-printed page that came in the album as well. It had like this shelf of stuff. I covered up the little saying that was there with my own tag. Put the 24 in the tradition. And the story talks about how when I was little, Mom had a lot of nativity sets, but some of them were very fragile. They were ceramic ones that she made, or they were blown glass or whatever. But this one, because it's plastic, this was the one I was always allowed to set up as a child. And set it up, take it down. I had to be careful because the angel actually has a nail through her banner so that she will stick into the wood. And so I had to be careful I didn't scratch myself or puncture myself. But it was always like I was a big girl, right? Because I got to set up that nativity. And every year from, I don't know what age it was, to, you know, the last Christmas that we had at the house with Mom, I set up the nativity. And so, you know, this was something that I brought back with me, and now I have it in my house and I set it up every year. Tom is not allowed. So it's a nice tradition, and I'll probably have the nativity again in my albums because it's really special to me, and a nice memory of my mom. The 25th, so on the back of that, it was a plaid. I left it because I love plaid. Again, using up some 25s. 25th, you know, Noel. This was a picture that we took with Donnie. We tried a lot. F for family. Like, this dog, he's so photogenic, but then you get into selfie mode and he will not sit still. I was like, oh, this is a nice one. And I printed it out and I didn't realize that he's sticking his tongue out. So if that isn't Donnie in a nutshell, then I don't know what is. But love him to death, but he is a card. This time for Christmas, 2x2s, okay? Because now we have Donnie. I took way more photos. And so here he is with his stocking and sticking his head in the stocking. And I used a couple of the alphabet because I had extras like W for wish list. So there's my, Terry's chocolate orange. It's always on my wish list. I love those things. Here's some, gifts that were in the stockings and gifts that we got from family members who sent them. This card was already printed with Christmas morning. I added my 25 there, did my journaling, and then this flips up. Offsetting your numbers or circles is a nice way to kind of have your little flip up too. So I had, here's the picture of all of our stockings. Of course, those two were Donnie's. Mom actually had a knitting machine and she had made these stockings for myself and my brother. He was perfectly fine with us having both. So we now have a new tradition of using those as well. And so I had this little frame that said Holiday Cutie. So as he was kind of laying on my leg, I took a picture of him and added him there. Here is an outtake of one of the pictures. He is such a licker. Like I don't like my face being licked, but Tom is cool with it. And so he spends half of his life cuddling and licking Tom, I swear. But that one cracked me up. And so went with that one as well. Nice little way to record things and extra stuff with the flip ups. Little bit more with the Christmas. And again, some of the other letters. These were wrappers for some of the Patsy's chocolates I put in our stockings to try out. There's Donnie with his treats. There they are cuddling. And I used the T for together and then the M for making because I did some scrapbooking that day as well. Plain Merry Christmas. Didn't need to do any journaling here. It kind of speaks for itself. Okay? Let the pictures speak for themselves sometimes. Journal where you want, though. It's your book. Here, loved the picture of our house from the outside with the lights above the window and from the tree. I had this cute little snowman border, so I used it. This is a flip up. Loved this photo that we took of our street and all of the frost and the snow. Used another snowman again, keeping that consistency. Visual triangle, but also this is one spread together because it has the snowman. H for home. And so if you flip these up, again, I was using some cards. This neighborhood card, used it here. Really thankful that we bought in the area that we did. We just really love the area. Tom had taken that photo, and so I wanted to include it. I include Donnie in his little jacket. They were going to go for a walk, and so included that here because I thought that was cute, and it's home, right? And then, I love our home. It's not huge or new or perfect, but it's perfect for us. And so kind of talking about that and how we added Donnie to our household on the 18th, just, a week ago, and how much we love him already. And, if you ever doubt who his human is, he lets you know. I'm just telling you. Like, he loves me, but Tom is his human. And as I record this, Tom is actually not home, and Donnie is nowhere to be found. He's literally pining for Tom. He won't come when I call him. He's waiting by the door for Tom to come home. That's how ridiculous he is. So I will do a whole album of Donnie because I have so many photos and so many stories, but it was fun to start gathering those stories. A day of no photos. So, working through my list of movies, talking about that. did the 27, using up some of these cards. They're foiled, they're nice. M is for movies. Stamped some banners there. Stamped this list of characters, which also have movies attached to them. So I thought that was fun. Colored in the ones I actually watch. I don't watch any Krampus movies, although I should, and then I can color everything in. But I used one of the cards. So again, letting your eye rest, words. This came in the album, and I actually got a piece of paper and put it on the back, covered up whatever was there. And, oh, there he's barking. What I did was I stitched around the top, and then the paper on the back stitched the edges so that it's a pocket. And inside the pocket is the list of all the movies. Okay. So movies, shorts, things that I watch, they were all put on here, so I could pull them out and read them. That is my journaling, or my piece for the day. No photos, no pictures of me watching the TV or anything, but, I thought that was sufficient for that year. And then, part of that was, my brother, Judy Garland drives me nuts. And so, she was such a horrible person in so many ways, but Mimi in St. Louis is, a classic, movie. So he had made me a Judy Garland garland, just to annoy me, and it fit in with the movie, and I actually watched the movie. So that was what was there. Filled out that little piece right there. 28th, Twinkle. Again, I love my Christmas tree. I did another photo of it here. And so use Shine 28 Twinkle, and I use Photoshop to put the journaling on the actual door, and that was the day. So getting closer to the end of December, kind of those big photos are nice, filling in the gaps. Here is the home stuff stamp. B is Bah Humbug. Again, this year I was done with decorations, and so the 29th we took everything down. Most years I wait until into January, but I was done. For whatever reason, I was just done, and I had a bee in my bonnet. I wanted everything off, so we did that. So here is me on the steps from upstairs going into the living room and kitchen. I wanted to show this because this is where we notice it the most. And the living room looks super naked because the big tree isn't there, the lights aren't there, the Santa's not standing there. And so that was the photo. Deliberately a big photo to show that, and the stuff along the bottom. The 30th, I actually took this card and I cut them up and Frankenstein them together because I wanted the red on the bottom here, I wanted the red on the top, and I wanted the Merry Christmas in the middle. So don't be afraid to cut things apart. However, I did have to do strips of 6-inch photos so that I could make everything look natural and normal. Did 2 letters here, plain. There's Donnie and Tom being ridiculous together, and then eating. There we went and we grabbed Whataburger. We wanted a relaxing day. We were finishing on decorating, and so the number worked. It's a picture of a burger. Doesn't have to be fancy. Once again, used my sewing machine, made a grid, put some circles. The 31st, we went up to Fort Collins to a comedy place, and T was for traveling, and so punch circles in green paper, and then punch circles of the show and the comic that we went to see, who is absolutely hysterical and a really great guy. There was Santa waving. I'm like, oh, he's waving goodbye. And I happened to have an Ellie's Studio tag that said goodbye 2023. So I thought that worked out well because over here we have Santa on a bicycle. When would I ever use Santa on a bicycle? Well, here, because I had a Hello 2024. And so this cracked me up. There he's saying goodbye, and here he's saying hello on his bicycle. And we spent New Year's at home with Donnie. He was cuddling with Tom. And so there's January. Now, this was the year where Ukraine decided not to follow the Julian calendar. And Christmas was not January 6th and 7th. They had moved it to, now, not all Ukrainians. And, there's division in, the Catholic Church, and I won't get into it. But I am not siding with Russia, and so I am not following the Julian calendar anymore. I know it's tradition, much to the chagrin of some of my family who were very vocal about it, which I really don't care. It's my life. I did not. This is the last time you will see January, because I'm not celebrating Ukrainian Christmas in January. So what I did here is I used this page that came with the book. Instead of stamping something, I added my tag there and did my stamping and all that stuff. And on the back, I covered it with paper and I made a pocket. So this is a separate sheet of paper. I had this piece from a marketing page on the front of a paper pad, and it's crusty glitter. It says Christmas. Put it on here. I stitched it to give it kind of a little bit of definition. I did some journaling, and I added some Matryoshka doll stickers that I had. Then this pocket has information about the situation with Ukraine and Russia, and Ukraine celebrating its first Christmas on the 25th of December. And, I sized this down and I modified the pictures so that it would fit on the size that I wanted. It has the whole situation, so that I have that historically, so that I have that historical information, but then also my feelings and my decision as well. This is kind of a cool idea to do. Sometimes people will put, what is the temperature every single day, especially in places where the temperature can vary greatly. Colorado is a good example of that. You could also do something like this with like the front page news that day, or sometimes you can find places that do Santa trackers. So you could do an hour by hour. You can get cards or stamp it out and say, oh, at 5 o'clock, Santa was in Australia, or at whatever time he was spotted in, Turkey. So you could do something fun like that, and do that with your kids, or just do it yourself. Put real life stuff in here. That's what I want to do. This little pocket is a good idea also for school programs. If they have shows and stuff during the holiday season, you could do one of all of the shows, or just the one that you go to, or programs if you go see like the Nutcracker or other live shows. That's an opportunity there as well. The album came with one. You saw that it held the cards, but here I made one for that specific reason. It's easy to pull out. It's easy to see the whole story. It gives me a chance to capture all of that in just a one page. And so that is my album for 2023, 2024. Again, it's a little thick, but it fits nicely. These books do give you that leeway to have a little bit of thickness beyond the rings.